Hello, Ravens. Welcome to another electrifying episode of the Raven Report. I'm your host, Collin Kerouac, and today we're diving into one of Sci-Tech High's most talked about events, the STEM Fair. Earlier today, students from across the school showcased their creativity and innovation in an event that brought together the best of science and technology. This episode was recorded prior to the event, but we'll still explore the big questions. Should the STEM Fair really be mandatory? What was the purpose of this event? And how did it impact students? Last year's debut, while promising, wasn't without its challenges. From logistical hiccups to mixed feedback, we'll take a closer look at how those lessons shaped this year's event. Plus, we'll spotlight some of the incredible projects students worked on and hear their thoughts on what it was like to participate. So, Ravens, whether you're a science enthusiast or a skeptic, stay tuned. This episode is packed with insights, inspiration, and a behind-the-scenes look at what makes the STEM Fair such a cornerstone of our school. Let's dive in. Joining me now in our classroom is Miss Santos, one of the incredible science teachers who has been instrumental in organizing this year's STEM Fair. Miss Santos, welcome to the Raven Report. Thank you for squeezing us in during what must be a hectic week.
Thank you, Collin. I'm excited.
So, starting off, I have some questions for you about the science fair.
Okay.
Or STEM fair. Reflecting on last year's debut, which had its fair share of challenges, what were the biggest takeaways and how have they shaped your planning for this year?
I guess if someone isn't passionate about something, they're less likely to do it well. So we created the STEM Fair Committee and got a bunch of juniors and seniors excited about planning it and having a student-led STEM fair. And that's actually helped fill in the gap with, I guess, the shock that we had to do it. Not everyone, I think, adapts as fast as I do.
Do you think that STEM fair has encouraged students that may have not been so likely to do a science fair?
I love the conversations we're having. I love the quality and the way that they can express themselves, the access to working between different grades, the ability to work with all three science teachers, the fact that we opened it up to engineering and math this year. I think it's amazing. I think it does make a stronger scholar, and I wish we had started it sooner.
Yeah, that's a good combination. Next step is more funding. However, many students are questioning why the STEM fair is mandatory. How would you explain its purpose and importance?
From what I understand, Susan Pomeranian is, I think, like head of schools, something high up there. Okay. Brilliant woman. And then Dawn Fair came on board as her science coordinator. Even more amazing woman. So these are two women who have been in the classroom. They know what they're doing. They're experts. They understand neuroscience and how kids think and how to prepare them for college, right? So I respect them both immensely. Dawn Fair brought it to Susan that we should do a STEM fair because locally all the other schools were going to Garcef. And we're a very small school, and she wanted to make sure that we were represented because it gives us access to scholarships. Plus, we're ironically called Sci-Tech High School. And so it's going to put a little bit more of that science and technology in your thinking, getting you ready for STEM fields. So it comes from a great place. It's an initiative that was recently started by a team who I think has been together 5 or 6 years, but it's the right thing to do at the right time. Like I said, I wish it would have happened sooner. It's just like you were saying, funding, preparation, organization, things like that are what are hindering us.
So you're saying it's important is kind of to get funding for our school, specifically our science department?
Yeah. So if we did raise for a STEM fair, we want to keep that money separate from any science money, which is almost non-existent, right? We were this year able to, thanks to people, and I know you helped too, like with your little group for Garcef, by having the kids, 10 kids, or it's 11 at the time, sign up for Garcef and go through all those horrible different milestones with me. We raised $500 by participating in a grant given by the Garcef Foundation.
And of course, you're hoping for that to continue, like for more funding to happen.
Right. So I was only one teacher who did it. If we got another teacher to do 10 kids, then they would also get $500. And the reason I was saying it's better to have it just for STEM fair is I don't want to share in science's almost non-existent budget. We have everything that those monies are tied up, and I don't want anything stolen from us. So I would rather raise separate money for STEM fair.
Right. And if we have more teachers, we could double, triple, quadruple our
Exactly.
amount from this year. Yeah.
And if we don't have to limit it to the science teachers, that would be like absolutely amazing. You could have math, a math teacher taking on 10 math projects. You can have an engineering or like a computer science teacher taking on 10 projects. you could raise $2,000 easily 1 year by entering multiple sets of kids.
That's an exciting prospect. So what's new or improved for 2025? Any exciting changes or additions?
I think they're exciting. They have been challenging, but they're exciting. So, but instead of just saying science fair, right, that was very limiting to just the science department teachers and just the science department is doing this. We wanted to make it STEM fair. So it's for the entire student body and for the entire faculty. So STEM, it has the science, the technology, the engineering, and the mathematics. It was a lot of background work, but our STEM fair committee really came through. And we made the different trifolds. We researched to see what do you do in an engineering fair versus a math fair, which we had never even heard of math fairs, but they're quite popular. We looked up what are the different things you would have in a graphic organizer? What are the different like flow charts that you would use? I learned a lot of terminology. So now moving forward, we can have scholars participating, choosing like they did this year, which puzzle group they want to do if they want to do science, technology, engineering, or math.
Yeah. I'm surprised to hear that math ones are pretty popular because a lot of students I know don't like math.
It's true, but the way that you do a math project, just like, okay, you don't have to be good at science to do a science project, right?
Right.
You don't have to be good at math to do a math project, but it's just using mathematical and computational thinking. So you're actually flexing these different muscles that even I didn't even know existed. So that's why I like really am excited about those changes.
Yeah, nice to learn something new. Can you give us a sneak peek into the kinds of projects we'll see this year? Are there any standout themes or innovations?
Okay, so innovation. To manage it, we actually, each science teacher is a different sponsor. Like I was telling you earlier, I hope to in the future have math sponsors and like engineering, computer engineering sponsors. But we have quite a few. If you recall, Jeffrey Rodriguez won Teacher Choice and Scholar Choice Awards last year. He and Audrey have teamed up in order to do How Safe Is Your Fingerprint, where they actually made faux fingerprints with latex and they were trying to full scanners. And then you have a new addition to STHS, Dougie Parrish. She went ahead and she did a whole exploration. She caught bugs, pinned them, froze them. Like she has an actual bug box and her whole board looks like a bug.
Yeah, I saw her board. Her board looked really awesome.
It did. And then like there are freshman projects that we were just falling over looking at how cute they were. The seniors today were helping me actually organize all the boards and they were like cooing and Googling about, oh, it's so we were having a lot of fun looking through. There's, I'm sure, much more, but those are just two standouts that I've recently seen.
That sounds good. What would you say is the biggest challenge out there with doing a STEM fair at STHS?
The isolation. It really felt like I was on my own this year. Last year, we hit it as a team. The science department restructured a bit this year, and it was just like, boom, it's yours. And I had to just settle into that thought and shout out Caitlin Flores, Deanna Sims, Audrey Lule, Jeffrey Rodriguez, Dougie Parrish, Juanita Wenzel. They, of my STEM fair committee, sometimes they would stay after school with me. There was one day I had almost a meltdown because I didn't know what to do. And Caitlin Flores was here with me for 3 hours after school as we were planning the next step. We definitely relied on scholars, and I love the idea of it being a scholar-led event. Eventually, it'll start running a little smoother as I'm also learning how to apply to GARCEF, things like that. Everything will get better as we go, but definitely feeling like you're all on your own doing something.
So you're basically saying you had to do it without the help of the other science teachers?
I respect my colleagues, and we all give what we're able to give.
If you had to sum up what you hope students take away from this experience, what would it be?
That it's okay to fail. It was pretty cool. There's a few projects where kids are freaking out that it didn't go the way they want, but joke's on them because 98% of science doesn't go the way. And that's a great thing to learn. I always want you in my classroom to be okay with failing, messing up, and then recovering, right? That struggle. So seeing them have an idea, bring it to fruition, and then it can fail. I know that sounds kind of creepy to smile at, but it's a great realization because not everything we plan works out, but it's still okay. We can still learn from it. We still present. We complete our conclusions. We still present with pride.
Right. And like you always say in our class, failing is the embodiment of science a lot of the time. And all scientists fail, and learning how to fail and then step up after our failures is a part of life, and it's a good lesson.
Exactly.
Last question. Were there any memorable moments or surprises during the planning process that you'd like to share?
So the key phrase there was like to share. That means you gave your interviewee a way out.
Forget.
Were there any memorable moments or surprises during the planning process that you'd share?
Okay. Yes. STEM Fair Committee was doing great, but then the realization, but those are, in the nicest of ways, they're kids, right? I still needed adults to have buy-in, and not having that and having to bridge that gap was the real tough part. And I have heard from even like little freshmen, just negativity around STEM Fair, which I didn't appreciate. So like not everybody, I think, sees the benefit to it yet. I'm going to like really emphasize on yet, because eventually we're going to get there where it becomes normal. It's not stressful and it doesn't seem like a burden.
Right. It just needs to become more established. And also you're having to deal with kids my age. They're almost to that full maturity, but not quite. So they still need a little more time to grow as well.
But even though like we hit that surprise and it was hard, I never realized how amazing we really have grown up our scholars, because they've become, even as just seniors and some juniors, people I can depend on. And so, yes, I'm not working with a bunch of other adults like I hope to in the future, but working with these kids who are professionals in their own right, that has been an awesome experience. And I think it's wonderful seeing like the self-pride that they have of that accomplishment. And I can really give them tasks and trust that they get it done. They did all of the emailing for the judges. They followed templates. They responded back. They asked if they could speak Spanish. They started making their own spreadsheets to gather all the attendance data. Another person made like a judge's sheet so that we can organize all the people emailing out and to have that professional communication. Like that was actually a pleasant surprise. Like I just loved working with them.
Yeah. I was briefly on STEM Fair, and the kids on there are the best you can find in the school when it comes to work ethic and working in general. Thank you so much, Ms. Santos, for giving us a peek behind the curtain. Your hard work and dedication to making this event a success don't go unnoticed, and we're all excited to see it unfold this Thursday.
Aw, thank you, Collin.
Now that we've gotten the inside scoop from Ms. Santos, it's time to meet some of the students who are making the STEM Fair shine. Joining me first are three amazing participants, Audrey, Deanna, and Aracely, all seniors. Welcome to the Raven Report, guys.
Thank you for having us.
We love
Yes. I think they're meeting. Sally tied me. Anyways.
All right, let's start with some introductions of your projects. Can you each tell us what your project is about?
So my project, I'm working with last year's student choice and teacher choice winner, Jeff Rodriguez. We're making fake fingerprints to try to trick the biometrics on phone.
I understood y'all were quite secretive about it. Whenever I would ask him about it, he'd be all sneaky about it.
Very. It was very top secret, but now that the projects are actually out and we're auditing them, it's been less of a secret.
All right, what about you, Deanna?
Mine was on the effects of having clams in different pH levels to understand the effects of acidification.
Ooh, fascinating. What about you, Aracely?
Mine was really simple. It's just testing out different foods with my cat to see if he preferred store-bought food or the actual food, like fresh meat and stuff like that. So yeah, it was pretty easy.
Which one did the cat prefer?
It liked both.
Okay, makes sense. Your cat's a foodie.
Yeah, he loves to eat.
All right, to all three of you, what inspired your project? And were there any challenges you had to overcome? And if so, what were they?
Oh my gosh. Okay, first off, what inspired our project is just the fact that we're both absolutely unhinged and are terribly motivated. We harnessed that. However, we both ended up getting sick on the day we were going to do it. Meaning that only one of us could get it done.
Yeah, I heard y'all were having a lot of complications.
Complications is a very nice way to put it.
Could you go into more detail?
Well, we ended up getting it done, thankfully, but both being sick with different things had us quarantined for separate times, like right before we were going to do it. But yeah, we got it done. Got her done.
Yeah, that definitely, I understand why that would be difficult.
Very difficult.
What about you, Deanna?
What kind of inspired mine was like whenever I went to go see my grandparents, we would always walk the beach and stuff. And I've always been interested in more of the effects of the ocean and aquatic life and stuff like that. There was not really any complications with mine. Everything went pretty well. The only thing I would change about it is if we had a bigger budget and probably more time to do the experiment, it probably would have been more successful because it would have shown like longer term effects and I would have had more trials to do.
Yours is a lot more sentimental. Santos put us together and said, "You two are freaks. Get it done."
Yeah, I understand your fascination with the beach and the ocean. I've always been fascinated with that myself. More just swimming in it. What about you, Aracely?
Well, I've always wanted to include my cat in a school-related project, and this was the time to do it. I've also been interested in, because he hunts outside, you can see him trying to pounce on things. And I wanted to see if he could put those little instincts of wanting to eat meat into my project.
Yeah, I got an outdoor cat myself. He's crazy.
Mine is crazy too.
Yeah, but what about challenges? Were there any challenges you had to face?
Not really, but I just wish I had more of money and time, so it would be a bit better.
What was your project?
We got it done. It was working on the gelatin of gummy bears and
Oh.
yeah,
Oh, I'm a gummy bear.
and it just kind of it was an interesting time. Let's go with that. All right. What's been the most surprising or exciting part of creating your project?
Okay. So I would say the most surprising part about the project was the fact that it did register certain materials that should not have been registered as a fingerprint. Thankfully, I'm going to cite Deanna. Thank you, Deanna. She, for some reason, went on a whim about how you could use cheese as a stylus, and then there was like this whole talk about electrons and water, and I only half listened to that because I usually only half listen to Deanna. Now, when considering this other science behind that, she had explained that possibly it was the moisture that would register it as a fingerprint. But the materials that were registered were dry, like dry clay that had been sitting for days out. That is completely rock solid, right? Or hot glue, which is also doesn't carry moisture. The latex I could see, but those three in particular did scan as possible fingerprints, just the wrong ones.
Oh.
So your fingerprint isn't that safe.
I can never imagine anything being safe with technology.
Nope. Don't trust it.
What about you, Deanna? Any surprises or exciting parts about creating your project?
I would say the most exciting part is that I actually got good results from it and that my hypothesis was correct. And I also really liked creating my board. I thought that was really cool and fun.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, just seeing everybody else's projects and seeing how creative everybody else could be was or is still really interesting. And I've seen a lot of the boards and I can't wait to see more tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw some people get very creative with their boards. I love seeing some of the designs, for example, Dougie
Yeah.
basically
Oh,
on her
bug
board. Yeah, bug.
Dougie's reminds me of the Coraline furniture that looks like buns. That's the kind of thing.
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, ours.
That one was really nice.
I feel like ours is supposed to look like a crime board, so it's got string strung around.
Mine just has a bunch of shells on it.
Glittery shell. Glittery shells. Don't forget that part.
Yeah, the glitter. The glitter makes it.
If you had to describe your project in one sentence to someone completely new to it, what would you say?
You want to go first, Deanna? I would say pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And also, sorry, there's a semicolon right there. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool if you have a phone that reads biometrics. Because it's not safe from us for long or perfected. Your information isn't safe.
Deanna?
I would say it takes a look at shorter term effects of acidification on one specific species. And so I would say to who's ever first looking at it, could you imagine like the long-term effects of acidification and pollution in our ocean?
That's a long sentence.
Okay. He didn't say one sentence. He didn't say one sentence. He said one thing.
Oh.
He said one sentence.
All right, Aracely, if you could describe your project in one sentence, what would you say?
Well, I would say it was a fun little project anyone can do. Like, anyone can do it with your pet. It doesn't have to be a cat.
How do you feel about presenting your work to peers, teachers, and community members? Nervous? Excited?
Well, last year I did a project with the wonderful Deanna and Deja. And
Oh no,
oh my God. And it's not even like
you're curved.
it's not even like great sick. It was like the exact same day, January 17th, I got sick.
Yeah.
Last week was January 17th, I got sick. Thankfully, it was just during the
Happy
project.
anniversary.
Anniversary. I know. It was I'm just really thankful and excited to actually present and be there and look at all the projects and win. I'm gonna win. That's what I'm gonna do.
I like the confidence.
Thank you.
Wait, what was the question?
Nerd.
Sorry.
How do you feel about presenting your work to peers, teachers, and community members?
I feel excited about it because I worked pretty hard on it and I'm proud of my work and I'm proud of how I have it presented right now.
All right, Aracely, how do you feel about presenting your work to peers, teachers, and members of Sci-Tech?
I feel pretty all right about it. I mean, I'm not the only project there, so there's going to be more people looking at other projects, but I'm just excited to see everyone else what they've done.
Yeah, it's so fun walking through the aisles, seeing all the experiments from the other people.
Yeah, and they get to see the really cool ones.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end this questionnaire.
I wanted to give my opinion on whether it should be made.
We're gonna end this interview with a hot topic question. Some people have been critical of the science fair, saying that it shouldn't be a yearly thing or mandatory. How do you all respond to this?
Okay, I think that it should not be mandatory.
You traitor!
Whoa. But I have some reasons for that. And I think the biggest reason is that when it's not mandatory and you're making people do it, just the passion doesn't show through in the projects. And in a lot of projects, like you can see who worked like really hard on things and who only did it because it was mandatory. And so I think an alternative would be if we raised enough money and fundraised enough to have a prize for the winner. And so that way, like, we don't have to make it mandatory, but there is more benefits to it so that people are more inclined to do it.
Well, didn't we have prizes last year for the best?
Oh my gosh.
We had a trophy.
Okay. Okay.
All right, clearly Audrey disagrees with what Deanna says. Audrey, state your opinion.
I don't disagree that much. I think we should make the presentations not mandatory, but the doing the experiment, I think, should be ingrained within the curriculum because it's not just the experiment. It's about utilizing problem-solving skills, critical thinking, learning about research. All of these work ethic sort of things are valuable to you later in life when it's past the science experiment. Though I do understand the labor of making the presentation and getting all this expensive stuff together and blah, 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 blah. That can be inaccessible and definitely unfair to some students. The act of the science or math or engineering, whatever you want to do, STEM fair, there should be still ingrained somehow.
Like, as a response to that,
Oh,
as a
okay.
response, I think we could include the methods of conducting a science experiment within the curriculum without having them do a science project.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, there's so many, like, we can include the methods of, like, scientific inquiry into the curriculum without having to do a mandatory science fair project for everybody. And
it also makes it less work for us because we're auditing us about the experiments.
That, and just the fact that sometimes it's not in people's budgets to do certain experiments it's kind of unfair.
I don't think it should be mandatory because lots of kids already have other assignments going on in classes and some of them are like major grades. But like Audrey said, I think it should be still ingrained somehow because the skills do help you later on in life. I just wish it was executed better so kids don't feel forced into it.
Yeah. I can see I can see both sides of the argument. I could see why it shouldn't be mandatory. I could also see why it should be mandatory. I think, yes, you're right. It does force students to maybe just do the science fair just for mandatory things. But I also think it allows some students who are not before interested to become interested in the project they were doing, to become passionate about it. And at the same time, after interviewing with Santos, she said we get some sponsorships and funding for that, which I think is really needed at this school.
Definitely.
So overall, this is gonna be a bit of a hot take. I think the science fair should be mandatory, or STEM fair. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you so much for sharing your projects with us. It's incredible to hear about all the creativity and hard work you've put into your ideas.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Yep.
for having us.
That wraps up this special and kind of wild episode of the Raven Report. A huge thank you to Miss Santos and our student guests, Audrey, Deanna, and Aracely, for giving us an exclusive look at this year's STEM fair. Even though this episode was recorded before the event, we know that today's fair was an incredible opportunity for students to showcase their projects, explore their creativity, and engage with their peers. As always, stay curious and keep soaring high. Until next time, this is Collin Kerouac signing off. See you in the next episode of The Raven Report.